Here we are. Welcome back to the Scope podcast, the Friday version.
We'll do a wrap-up, we should call it.
Yeah, we'll do a wrap-up. We'll do a preview. It's a preview for the following week as well. Some stuff we'll touch on. Obviously. Ooh. You know what? This is because I wore this on purpose, Lukey. There are, in this world that we live in, there are a lot of fair weather fans that are quick to turn their turn the cold shoulder? What's that saying?
Yeah, you give someone the cold shoulder.
Give the team the cold shoulder or quickly change teams. But very proud Packers fan, very, very proud Aaron Rodgers fan. So we'll break that down and we'll start talking about it a little bit further on. But we want to start with the subscriptions as per.
Yeah, subscribe. So it's not a subscription. You subscribe to the YKTR channel. So we'll get up there. But yeah, it's been really good. Everyone's been subscribing. Make sure you like the video as well. If you enjoy these weekly wraps from Scope or 10 in the Can, it means a lot when we see that subscription. We see some people taking the piss in the comments, but it just helps us grow. And the more exposure we get, the more content that we can drive through this channel. So
if you're new, subscribe because this will keep the content going. If you're old, you're probably over it. So let's move on. We'll move on to our gratefuls. Have you got a grateful for us today, brother?
I am grateful. So tonight I'm going out to Mona Vale.
Yep.
Out Northern Beaches way, Scope.
I know the area well.
I'm going to be in the bridal party for the first time at a mate's wedding.
Oh, beautiful.
And it's a childhood friend. So it's not someone I went to high school with or anything like that. My mum and his mum went to school together. So I'm grateful for that friendship because then I'm grateful for our friendship. So shout out to Mitch. He's not really a YKTR listener or anything like that. But
that's all right. You can put it out into the...
Grateful for being in the bridal party. Obviously, you've had your wedding this week as well. So... it's in May, I believe, his wedding. So we're just planning everything leading up. Nice. Bit of a Bucks weekend ahead of me somewhere. So looking forward to that.
You're going to do a number on yourself too, aren't you?
I've done a number on myself the last month. I'm standing here today just sort of holding myself up. So
Mate, that's really good. Grateful. I remember the first time I was invited onto a line. It's a very special moment. It's very humbling. It's a nice thing to be a part of. I had the same thing probably 2019. Remember when I first started doing this content and then I had to go over to Bali. So I'm still grateful for that. But my grateful is my discipline. At the start of the year, I put out my video, said that I was going to go off the Katonis. There have been people that have been trying to find out what Katonis are. If you know, you know. It's one of those things. It's, I don't want to be condoning it to people that don't understand, but if you know, you know. And I've been really good. I've had a lot of people message me when I told them not to, because I was trying to be disciplined, like I said. But I've got into a really good habit of being consistent with my content because of that, because I haven't been wasting any days. There's a time and a place for it every now and again to treat yourself with your mates. But at the moment, it's not the time. I've been ripping in. I've had a really good month, and I think it's because I've just laid off a little bit and just started to get my life back in order. So I'm grateful for my discipline. It's helped out with my training, especially with the bad ankle and whatnot too. So sitting back and feeling sorry for myself and having those depressing mornings, they're just not in my life at the moment. Everything's grateful. I get people messaging me all the time about the grateful, so grateful for that as well.
It's been blowing up a bit lately, and I think we're going to do some grateful tea coming soon, so just stay posted on that.
Oh, beautiful.
So 10 in the Can last night. It was a big 10 in the Can, obviously, given everything that happened with the boys during the week.
Yep.
Some good feedback off the back of it. Talk about that, Scope.
Okay, yeah. So, I thought Chico in particular spoke really well on the whole situation. I think, it sort of stood out. Like, we all know that we sort of knew what had gone down, but I think it was important just to elaborate a little bit on it. We've got the platform for it. I think the boys spoke really well and got it out there. We've had just a few things about like other parts of the podcast that we can improve on. We got a bit like rah-rah on each other last night. So I'm definitely going to work on that. I could feel that throughout the pod and I sort of knew it. And then we had a few comments on YouTube. Sometimes when, people get in the comments and they just like fucking, they're just looking for a fight. Like, but if there's genuine...
there's constructive feedback in there amongst everything you get in the YouTube comments.
Definitely. So that's one thing we can improve on. So I'll make sure we're better at that in the next couple of weeks. But it was a really enjoyable 10 in the Can. People seem to be loving it. I get messages all the time, DMs about that. So I think it's everyone's sort of favourite show of mine at the moment.
Yeah,
which is good.
We've got. I should bring this pad over.
Yeah, we just got a little
professional. Subscription great, 10 in the Can, reactions, improvements off the back. No, I wouldn't say. I think part of why 10 in the Ken is so good is because it's so raw and reactionary. And I mentioned on Ice's podcast that we just uploaded now. Part of the fun of it is like the reactions of the boys and like chipping in here and there and Chica going, yeah, everything like that, It's like that's part of it. So I get it if maybe I don't think people there'd be a fair few new watchers, I guess, to it.
Yeah.
But it's just like always similar to Footy Companion. It's almost like being at the pub with the boys. That's how it's exactly the same on and off camera.
I think sometimes it doesn't come across for us because I know we're talking into the mics, but we can hear each other a little bit here as well. Whereas when you go back and listen to it through on YouTube or whatnot, it comes across a lot worse through the mic. So something to be aware of, definitely.
Definitely. All right. Next one we have is the next week's podcast. BC and Gutho, Bryce Cartwright and Gutho.
Yep. So I was supposed to have them on Wednesday. Unfortunately, I couldn't. I was a bit dusty on Wednesday. Was at a wedding, so we pushed it back. It would end up being good for BC. Gutho's a question mark. We're still trying to convince him. He reckons he's taking, like some of the other boys, just pulling back a little bit more and focus. It's another big year for them, so Gutho potentially. We're locked in Braith for next Friday.
Braith and Asta.
Braith and Asta's going to come in. That'll be a good one. I haven't had sort of like a retired player or whatnot. And,
I can't think of the last one. Would have been Hawkinson, probably.
Yeah, Hocko. Yeah,
That's
Hocko.
probably
so there've been more current players. I like talking to some of the players that were, in my prime of watching. Like when I was coming through, Braith was in those glory years at the Dogs. So
would he have been at the Roosters when you? No.
And he's
you would have played against him. He was
in when I was at the 20s. Yeah, he was there in 2005, 2006. And one thing I always remembered from Braith, he was really good to a lot of the 20s boys because it's when you get to first grade, it's the way I was treated early on was the way I like to think that I was when I started playing first grade. And it's not for everyone. Like some guys that just like to do their own thing, but I thought a few guys in particular were really good when I was coming through, and he was definitely one of them. He would come so high to us at the table and would have the big group post game. Feeds and awards and whatnot.
Definitely a friend of YKTR Sports, always in the comments. And I think one thing that's always stood out to me is when everything went down when in Bali that time, it was Braith that put his sort of Fox Sports rep on the line. Remember he came out and was saying he was there and he spoke out on that actively. And
that was awesome.
So,
big. And he's got a lot going on too outside of just not footy. He's got his golf and player management, so that'd be cool. Like that's something I wanted to get into, so we'll chat about that for sure. That'd be good.
That's any other guests next week, or that's
and potentially Kitty. So David Kidwell, we want to be going up to now that the borders have just opened up. So it looks like we're going to be potentially be allowed. I might fly myself up there and try to get some content. So hopefully we can get Kitty in next week and ask him if that's a possibility. And even I'm going to speak to him tonight. It'd be gun to get Laurie Daly in here and have them both going talking about the game and the build up because I think it's become a really important part of the game now.
Definitely,
it's and the fact that most teams are letting their best players we're getting the cream of the crop for those games now. Where back in the past it was you get your scopes, you get Justin Horace playing in 2010 games because a lot of the other guys were playing for the Kiwis. So it's I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we can convince Kitty to just give us a couple of days of some pretty cool content. Yeah. Maybe vlog captain's run or something like that. That'd be fun.
Got some fun content last year when you were up there.
Yeah.
Remember the game Cheese played last year?
Unreal, mate.
Like he came off the bench and destroyed it, got the winning try.
Yeah, he broke his jaw or cheekbone or something like that ridiculously in the first fucking half and then still played on, scored 2 tries in the last 15, 20 minutes to win the game. That was such a good game.
But yeah, the culture and everything around that's what sort of makes that week what it is.
Yep.
Now into the Packers versus Bucks.
We'll start with because the Packers and Bucks one is I'll get a bit emotional. So let's get the Chiefs Bills game out of the way first because I thought it was going to be closer than what it was, and I've just put a few points down. I remember watching it at the part of the game. I don't remember if you were watching so closely, Lukey, but guys I've had a few people message me really nice messages about my NFL knowledge, and that they've sort of been surprised they've found that there's not many guys who actually proper love NFL like I do, and
that's why we started the podcast.
Yeah, and I know ideally I'd like probably someone else to go one-on-one, like I get the boys in.
Well, when Jackson gets here, you two, he swaps me out in this for the NFL stuff.
Yeah, so me and Jacko, we go at each other in the WhatsApp. Like he was carrying on, layering on a little bit with the Bucks game, but. Yeah,
Before you dive into it, for the people listening to this now, shameless plug for Jackson, the Barely Ballers podcast. If you want to hear two NFL nerds going at it, basketball, NFL, it's under our network. Make sure you guys listen to that. But dive in.
So that game in particular, the Chiefs and Bills game, I just want to highlight just two plays back to back when I thought it broke the camel's back for them, because I thought it was going to be a coin flip and it was going to be close. So the Chiefs 1-13. I missed on both. I was completely wrong on both. But this is a big part of the game that I thought was important. It was halfway through the second quarter. It was a 3rd and 6. The Bills brought a little bit of heat and they got one outside. I think it was Milano. I think it might have been Milano or Epinesa. One of them two. Well, they went back to back, whatever order it happened in anyway. One's middle linebacker, the other one's outside linebacker, sort of rove and roll. Milano, I think maybe Milano was the first one. He gets a free shot at Mahomes. Mahomes steps up, hits Kelsey. It's a first down. And then the very next play on 1st and 10, they get it from the other side this time. Another free release. So obviously and I'll break down the game a little bit moving forward in the next weekend, touch on a little bit in this game. Epinesa comes off the opposite edge the next time. Same thing, free, unblocked, and he does the exact same thing, steps out of Epinesa, steps away from him, hits Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill runs it for 25. I remember thinking at that time, I was like, fuck, there's no chance. And I think that, at that point it was only 14-9, and I think it was from that point on, the Bills had just slipped. Like, I can imagine them just going like, fuck, how are we going to stop this guy, man? I think they go down and convert and score a touchdown, make it 21-9, and then it got a little bit closer at the end, but they were never really in it. The Chiefs dominated, and they were going to Super Bowl's favourite, but they're playing the Bucks, and the Bucks have got a chance in it because of a few things that I just touched on there. But going on to that game, the Packers versus the Bucks.
This one where I can maybe go a little bit of back and forth because I did keep a bit of an eye on it. So go through your points that you've got.
But these are it's the same thing. It's not a big period of the game, but I thought it was a really crucial part of the game. So everyone's obviously talking about the fourth, not going for it in 4th and 8. I actually didn't mind that decision myself.
Talk me through that.
Well, I understood like they had been defending relatively well up until that point. Like Brady, and especially in the 4th quarter, like they were doing well. They took a couple of picks.
If you see that clip of Aaron Rodgers when he's come off, I think it wasn't that long before that. He's like, you see him on the sideline pretty much going, we need you guys to defend well here.
Yeah,
and then they did.
And they did it. So I thought the defense was going well enough. I know it's Tom Brady. There's no right answers for this as well. Like this is just my opinion. I actually don't mind the call given the chance. And then obviously Brady goes on, converts, and that's game over. But I actually don't mind the call. We can talk about Brady's. You know what's a crazy stat, and this is where the debate becomes. Brady's the GOAT because Brady's the GOAT. But Brady has thrown 3 intercepts in championship games, whether it be AFC or NFC, and he's won all 3 games. Like that says a lot about the teams that he's been in. Fuck, like you cannot now like debate his great. This for about 4 or 5 years ago, I was still like Rodgers is like the better player, the better quarterback, but like Tom's just a better winner. But obviously, I just want to bring that up because I think that's when I heard that, I was like, fuck, that's pretty crazy, man. And Rodgers has in 3 championship games thrown 3 intercepts and 1 touchdown or less and lost all 3. You know what I mean? Like so, when you look back on Rodgers, obviously those 2 positions, it's like sometimes it's like a halfback. Like they get too much. Credit. They get credited too much for wins, and they get blamed way too much for losses. And I reckon that's the perfect example. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone talks about Tom Brady. Fuck, he's thrown 3 picks and still won championship games.
That's what Dave Portnoy said. Like he goes, because he had money on the Packers. And the joke is because Aaron Rodgers has donated to that Barstool Fund and everything like that. So he used to love Brady because he was a big Patriots
That's how
guy.
they become famous, isn't it? Because they did the
Howitzer-gate, they call it.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't look up the Howitzer-gate. So you called out, I'll tell you it off air.
Okay.
But yeah, they went in to do the protest. But yeah, so he's got this shiny new toy, Aaron Rodgers. So he going for the Packers, but he's like, he genuinely thought the Packers were a better team than the Bucks.
Yeah.
And he goes, it wasn't Brady that won it from him. He threw 3 picks. It was just the whole Bucks just stood up and turned up for the day.
Yeah, and especially their defensive line, which we'll touch on leading up to it. But the big part of the game, and this is what I thought was really crucial, it was about a minute to go in the fourth. Rodgers threw it was 3rd and 6, threw a dart to, not a dart, he threw a nice little completion to Lazard. Lazard goes up the middle, gets to about the 40. And this is the one part where I questioned the coaches. They had a minute left on the clock with 2 timeouts, and they just had a nice big first down. Why didn't they take a timeout? They end up blowing 25 seconds off the clock. They don't get a good playoff, and they get sacked. They're now in 2nd and 18. The very next play, Rodgers throws in, and because I don't think this has been talked about enough. I've watched because I try to watch a few shows and not just recycle everything that I hear. I try to have my own opinion on it. And then on the second 18 call, that's when Rodgers throws the intercept, and it's a holding call. But same thing, even though it's against me, I was like, all right, fuck it. They're going to let him play. I don't mind it. You know what I mean? Just as long as it doesn't happen to us. And then it fucking happened to us. So that's where, at the time, that's my biggest
gripe.
Yeah, gripe with that whole thing. Because when he did, I was like, yeah, he's tugging, but fuck, it's the playoffs. They let him do that. I just hope that doesn't come back to bite us in the ass. So then, obviously, the Bucks get the ball. They look a little bit shaky. They were going to go for it. They were going to punt the ball away on 4th down. Brady ends up converting, and then he tries to throw a bomb to, I think it might have been 2nd or 3rd down, to Evans on the edge, and our safety Redmond comes over the top and just drops it. I fucking swear to God, when he dropped that ball, I was like, if you're a Packers fan, or if you've been watching Packers for as long as I have, for the last 10 to 15 years, I went, fuck, they're going to score on us, hey. Straight away, I was like, it's all that negative energy that, I'm trying to stay grateful, but when it comes to the Packers, man, I've had so many bad heartbeats, bad breaks. So yeah, it was definitely one of those moments. And then, so first of all, I'm filthy on LaFleur for not calling the timeout, putting us in that position. That should have been a timeout, 1 timeout to go. We're on the 50, then we're attacking. We come up with the right play. And then second of all, there's 6 seconds to go after that. Even though our Redmond drops it, there's six or 7 seconds to go. And Kevin King's getting a lot of the blame because he got targeted a fair bit. That's what Brady does. He picks out the weakness and he attacks it. But why the fuck is there no safety over the top there? Like, it's not like if they complete it and the best case scenario, they complete it, they go out and they kick a field goal. Like, we should be playing prevent there. I don't know what they were thinking. They should have just fucking pulled everyone back, had a safety over top, King underneath, and then, it's either a knockdown or an incomplete, or worst case scenario, 17-10. If we go into the half at 17-10 after the sort of the way we played, and Brady looked a little bit shaky as well, I'm happy with that. And obviously we end up playing a little bit better in the second half and bring ourselves back. But 21-10, Brady throws the fucking dime because it was there. It was there to be taken. And my biggest thing with Brady, when he gets the opportunity to make plays, he makes them, and that's a credit to him, and that's why he's the GOAT. But yeah, that was a really frustrating 2 minutes for me. That was only 2 minutes of a game, a minute of the game. But that felt like for 15 minutes, and everything that was unraveling after that point, I was like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Fuck, he missed that. They're going to score a touchdown. That's what it was like for me watching it. So that was a really frustrating part of the game. Rodgers' future, a lot of people have been writing to me, obviously knowing that I'm a big Packers fan. I think the cap number's too big for them. Dead cap money number is too big for him to move on. So
yeah, that's what I want to. So you think he sticks around?
Yeah, unless because he's got these little cryptic messages.
He's good. I fucking love him, man.
Best on Pat McAfee, he'll go on and he says the right things in exactly the right way. But if you've sort of been a fan of his for a few years, you'll know that potentially he could be looking elsewhere. So on to the Super Bowl. and I'll break down. Obviously, just speaking a little bit about it. I think I'll go try to get someone in next week to just have a little
even
bit.
a Zoom with Jackson.
Yeah, I might do a Zoom with Jacko, but
Or even Hocko or
the two things that scare me, because I've got money on the Chiefs, like a lot of people would know. I had money on the Chiefs and Packers all year, and I was hoping for a Chiefs Packers because that was win-win. Now I didn't have to lay off. But the one part that's making me obviously nervous and lay off is, one, the strength of the Chiefs' offensive line. Like I said, Mahomes made those two plays in particular, but I don't think he's going to be able to get away from Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul. And I said throughout the game, Lukey in the group chat, Vita Vey. So there's four big names on that defensive line. And Dominic Sue's another one that's in there, but Vita Vey at the moment, when I think when he went out, maybe halfway through the year, they might have dropped those 2 or 3 games throughout that period. And then he got injected back into the lineup. He's been injured for a while. Obviously, they've got a lot stronger. The defense has got a lot better. And I underestimated that side of it and thought that because our offensive line did a good job last week against – now I look back on it, hindsight, you look back on it, beating up Aaron Donald. There weren't that many other playmakers on the outside. That's where I completely missed it. And that scares me against the Chiefs too, because they just lost their left tackle now too, and Eric Fisher. So – that's where the game's going to be won and lost. Although, if I'm looking positive with it, so much of this Bucks team reminds me of the 49ers last year. Really good front four, couple of really good linebackers. They got away with a couple of holding intercepts, the Bucks, and that's sort of the 49ers. Like, you got Richard Sherman, but Richard Sherman isn't the player he used to be. Like, he actually got targeted a lot more than what people think. But that'll be an interesting part of the game in terms of Paddy attacking that defense. I think he might be able to pick them apart. Like, if you can get Rodgers, when Rodgers was taking advantage of that defense, he was just like eyeing off one side and then hitting through the middle, and that's where Kelsey and Tyreek Hill do their best work. So I'm not too sure if I'll lay off in next week. I'll see how it plays out, see if there's any injuries, anything to watch out for, but should be a good Super Bowl, eh?
Can't wait. February 8th?
February 8th, have the week off. They do Pro Bowl's not on anymore.
Is that a COVID thing? They brushed
COVID's brushed.
It's a shame.
Yeah,
they're still giving them a 2 week break.
It's pretty average anyway, the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, it's always like
it's a bit fun for social media.
Yeah.
But for the games itself. So, that's my wrap-up.
Back again next week.
Catch you then.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, brother.